guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tita Lavinia of Titas of Pageantry, and for this episode, let's open up a discussion if Miss Grand International will still be under the Binibining Pilipinas franchise. I know a lot of you have been buzzing about it, so please stick around, please subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that bell notification button for your weekly pageant fix. Hey guys, so I'm going to deviate a little bit from our usual coverage of Binibining Pilipinas. I initially planned on covering a little bit of Miss World Philippines for you, but based on your comments and based on your interest level from the recently concluded Beach Beauty competition, there doesn't seem to be a lot of buzz about it. So I'm gonna skip that part. I'm gonna wait for like more juicier parts for Miss World Philippines. As for Miss Philippines Earth, that's also a little problematic as well. But I'm going to wait up until they complete the roster of candidates before I start opening up a discussion. Now, I feel like this is sort of a diversion because we don't usually talk about this, or I don't usually talk about a certain content that's based on just one post. It's not even something that's well researched. I mean, I didn't even do a lot of digging from that actual live video footage. Now, what I'm talking about, of course, is this rumor going around that Miss Grand International will pull its franchise from Binibining Pilipinas, that was supposedly discussed by the owner, Nawat Itsaragrisil. So this post was made by an IG page called Miss Thailand _MT, and this was posted on May 17th. So this post has only been in public for a couple of hours, but we've been getting a lot of DMs, we've been getting a lot of screenshots to confirm this. I don't know why people think that we have the information, but just like you, we know bits and pieces. We don't know everything, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we're part of this discussion, because it has been pretty quiet on the Miss Grand International side. Maybe not in areas where they are most welcomed, like maybe in Indonesia and in Thailand, but in the Philippines, because we're so into the local pageant scene. We just recently finished Miss Universe Philippines, and now we're in the middle of covering Binibining Pilipinas, and then Miss World Philippines, and then maybe in a couple of days, Miss Philippines Earth. So discussions on Miss Grand International hasn't really been surfacing. And if you're familiar with the owner, if you're familiar with his ways, and if you're familiar with how he moves on social media, it's really not surprising to have a little bit of Philippines here and there just to shake things up. So just to give you a little bit of a context, this post was made by the page that I mentioned earlier, and the writings were in Thai. So we cannot really rely on the translation part because, some of the essence and some of the words are lost in translation. But according to the direct translation on Instagram, it says that from live, Boss Nawat reveals Binibining Pilipinas has been leaked. MGI will not renew the contract next year. So obviously this has something to do with a language barrier or some translation issues, but this was also picked up by a number of Filipino commenters, and there were some Thai commenters who were kind enough to explain what happened further. So if you go ahead and check out the comment section, most of the Filipinos who would comment on this post were just really happy that we are finally getting rid of this franchise, either from the MGI side or the Binibining Pilipinas side. But I think a lot of people are also failing to understand that the discussion won't be for 2022, it will be in 2023. So I know a lot of people are really banking on a specific candidate at Binibining Pilipinas right now who could do such a great job at performing at a dog show. But should these things come into fruition, it just means that candidate will still have to compete and will still have to prove herself because she will still have to compete this year. But according to some of the comments, it seems that Nawat, who has like a regular YouTube live sesh, if I'm not mistaken, or Instagram sesh, mentioned casually that he won't be renewing the contract at Binibining Pilipinas. Now, talks about the contract is just a little on the shady side because I do know for the longest time, Miss Grand International did not require a franchise fee from Binibining Pilipinas, and Binibining Pilipinas, of course, being a more established organization. But there were others who were kind enough to really explain what happened, and let me just go ahead and check this out for you. So, of course, those who were really happy about it were like saying things like, "Thank God we don't have to have MGI at BPCI anymore. Thank God that they will not renew their contract with each other." So one of them mentioned that the caption might be misinterpreted, that it wasn't exactly leaked. It just seemed that according to now what's live, he would not be renewing the contract with Binibining Pilipinas in 2023 precisely because of two things. The first one is that, and this is no surprise, guys. We talked about this extensively. The first one is that he has been campaigning for Miss Grand International to be the highest crown at Binibining Pilipinas. And I think the campaign became even more aggressive, especially after Miss Universe Philippines became a standalone pageant and was no longer connected with Binibining Pilipinas. So he probably found an opening for Miss Grand International to elevate its status. Number two, it seems that they want a separate organization for a search, a Miss Grand Philippines search, the same way they've been doing things in Thailand and also in Indonesia, and that they're very particular about a girl. They're very particular about the features, and we also talked about this extensively. I remember even doing a separate episode just to give everyone a cheat sheet of what this organization is actually looking for, because out of all the pageants out there, Miss Grand International is the one who you don't really have to um, guess. I mean, they're pretty vocal with who or what attributes they're looking for, and it's really very physical, you guys. So um this commenter, this Thai commenter, also added that Binibining Pilipinas initially wanted to sign a multi-year contract with Miss Grand International, but that Nawat refused it, and this was because he observed and he thought that MGI could be bigger as a standalone pageant. And of course, this is a Thai commenter, and of course, the Thai commenter understands now what's impact and what he is capable of in Thailand. And he or she was just really pushing for the idea that this can be done. And honestly, guys, I have no doubt that this can be done. If Miss Grand International does pull out its franchise from Binibining Pilipinas, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't survive in this country, because this is still pageant country. They can still find someone who can run things in this country as a standalone program or as a standalone organization. And there will still be candidates who will sign up for an application. So I have no doubt that this could happen. Now, as much as Filipinos are celebrating this very idea, because I know that this will gain momentum, I know that this particular post is now being talked about in our media JCs. We have been talking about this. I know that in close groups in Facebook, people have also picked this one up. And of course, on the Instagram side, where it's a little more quiet, I've been getting a lot of screenshots. I've been getting a lot of input from people who are just really waiting for this to happen. Is this even feasible? Well, yeah, it is. I mean, if we're talking about funding and things like that, I have no doubt that this can happen. But how will it impact Binibining Pilipinas? Binibining Pilipinas has maintained its prestige, has maintained its position in the places of the pageant fans. Um, However, I will note that because Supranational is no longer with them, because Miss Universe is no longer with them, Binibining Pilipinas is they're just really riding on um, their credibility and what they have established for how many decades. But in reality, it's really going to be difficult for Binibining Pilipinas to continuously lose these franchise because they've built up these franchise, and beyond the pageant franchise that were held by Binibining Pilipinas, it just seems like it's not quite as important. So it's a little difficult for Binibining Pilipinas to start from scratch with an unknown pageant, knowing that they have done so much in establishing these newer pageants, newer than Miss World, Miss International, Miss Earth, even Miss Universe. So right now, I'm really not seeing a replacement. We're not really seeing a lot. Anyway, what happened with Miss World Philippines is that they discarded their other minor pageants and then they retained just four crowns. So for Binibining Pilipinas to lose more franchise and to lose Miss Grand International, for an admin's perspective, from a perspective of an analyst, this is a little sad because as much as we have this love-hate relationship with Miss Grand International, we cannot deny the fact that it's a great avenue for a contestant and her team of creatives to go into. So if you also look at it, there's so much hurt, there's so much bad juju talking about Miss Grand International. But if you look at our um, standing, or if you look at our performance at Miss Grand International, we've had some bad years, but in general, it really hasn't been that bad because, there is a narrative going on with a lot of pageant fans that we seem so slighted, that we seem to be doing so many things, and we seem to be sending them high caliber girls, and then we're not getting the results. And I think this has something to do with the fact that we somehow feel entitled. I mean, it does rub us the wrong way when we have won four Miss Universe crowns, six Miss International crowns, one Miss World crowns, several Miss Earth crowns, and then, a lot of other minor crowns, and we can't even get a crown at Miss Grand International. But again, this is a young organization, and if we are being strung along for the ride, yeah, that's also cause for some really bad blood between the Filipino pageant fans and the organization. But if you come to look at it, when they began the pageant in 2013 and when Binibining Pilipinas acquired this franchise in 2015, we've been pretty consistent. In 2015, Parul Shah ended up as third runner-up. We had a good run with Nicole Cordoves as first runner-up in 2016. This was followed by Elizabeth Clancy, of course, in 2017, who finished second runner-up. But I don't know, somehow things started going downhill by 2018. One of the brightest, literally, one of the brightest candidates that we've ever sent was Eva Patalinhog, and she did not place. And then it was followed in 2019 by Samantha Lowe, which was, I think, one of the most bizarre stories in pageantry in general when we sent her, and you know where that story leads. And then in 2020, we did not have a pageant, but somewhere along 2021, the first few months of 2021, we finally got our wish, and we finally had a Samantha Bernardo fight for us at Miss Grand International. And she was so well received there because for once, she seemed to have all of the attributes, and she seemed to have. On 2021, sometime in December, we sent a Samantha Panlilio. Now if you look at the roster of the girls we've been sending under the Binibining Pilipinas franchise, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect because however beautiful these women are, however accomplished these women are, these women, I feel, are really strong with their communication skills, but communication skills, if you come to think about it, isn't really as big in Miss Grand International. And because Miss Grand International has been very, very vocal with what they're looking for, and very visual as well. You can see it with the girls that they've been crowning. I just feel like we have been sending them the wrong girls, and most of the girls, if not all, we've come to support them because eventually they transform themselves, and then eventually by the time they get into the Miss Grand International stage, then they're the best Miss Grand International representative of the Philippines because they have taken all of the styling as well as all of the training needed for them to be worthy of that Miss Grand International representation, knowing, of course, that the pageant is very specific. It's not quite heavy on their advocacies. Everything is for show, everything is glossy, but it doesn't really have a lot of weight in terms of like social causes. But for entertainment, it is what it is. So I don't know if this is just sour graping on our part, but for years, there has been a movement of asking Binibining Pilipinas to drop this franchise. And if there are serious talks now of Miss Grand International threatening to withdraw their franchise with Binibining Pilipinas, then I honestly um, wouldn't be opposed to the idea. I think that Binibining Pilipinas has also done their best in making sure that even if they pick someone to send at Miss Grand International who isn't exactly the peg that they wanted, but Binibining Pilipinas, in collaboration with the teams of these ladies, have done their best to really package these ladies to be worthy of a representation at Miss Grand International. Now, if that's not working, then yeah, this might be a really good idea. The same way, we started thinking it might be a good idea also eventually for Miss Universe Philippines to stand alone, because that would mean that the organization can just really, really focus on how to win that crown, because the representative won't have to compete with the other title holders. So I am welcoming this, but at the same time, I would also feel a little bad for Binibining Pilipinas if this is indeed real. But if it's, talking about women, talking about the importance of women, yeah, it may be a good idea for this separation to come from them instead of from us. Now, I want to hear from you how you feel about this, because if you come to think about this, this isn't the first time that Miss Grand International will be a standalone pageant, because in 2013, when we first sent Ali Forbes to Miss Grand International, she was appointed, and then the next year John de la Vega, unfortunately he passed away. John de la Vega acquired the franchise, and then in 2014 they actually staged the very first Miss Grand Philippines pageant. So there was one year that it was a standalone search of like 19 ladies, if I'm not mistaken, wherein Kimberly Clarkson was crowned. But in 2015, the franchise transferred over to Binibining Pilipinas. So I'm just saying that this idea isn't far-fetched. Miss Grand International can definitely pull out from Binibining Pilipinas, and then they could just invite one of the wealthy would-be franchise owners to run the show. So I want to know what you think about it, because if you're a little nervous that Harleen Budol may not be able to compete, then you don't have to worry, because if she does well and if she is bestowed this title, she might just compete this year. But for next year, yeah, we might have to get to be used to some of these changes. So there you go, guys. I know that this isn't my normal content of something that's super well researched, but it's point for discussion, and I want to know where you are when it comes to Miss Grand International. Should we stay or should we go? Or should it be the other way around? So for now, thank you so much, guys.